Okay. Hello, everyone. We are here on the 10th of our 10 Meet the Filmmakers sessions. And today's session has the particularity of being with all the women filmmakers of this edition. We usually have a 50-50 representation, which unfortunately is not the image as it happens out there in the real world. There are many, many less women filmmakers that are represented, whether in Hollywood or in cinema in general. But in our case, it always happens. And when I say it happens, it's not, we don't do it, we don't force that percentage. We just go for the best films. We just select our selections. And invariably, every year, it happens that we are a 50-50 situation. A couple of years, it happened that we even had more women filmmakers than men filmmakers. But the thing is that filmmaker is a filmmaker, whether a woman or a man. But we like to emphasize that because in the real world, in Hollywood specifically, representation of female directors is very, very low. So today we have wonderful filmmakers with us who each one in their own right have presented films that deal with specific social issues. Our festival has the specificity of dealing with only social issues. We steer away from violence and violent forms of filmmaking, and we focus on human interest stories. So, maybe we should quickly take turns, not necessarily, don't go in depth into your film at this point. At this point, we will just introduce who you are, what your film is called, and what it is about. If you have a moment, you can also put the title of your film, like Coralie has done, Sarah has done, in your name, so that people immediately recognize the title. And we don't have to go in any particular order. If somebody wants to start, please be my guest.
Sure. Hi. My film is called, or our film, always a team effort. Our film is called JJ. It talks about foster care family and a court hearing.
Yeah, it's a very interesting film. I'm gonna make my comments later. I will right now because it's very annoying. I go sometimes to these events, and then one person starts talking forever, and the others are sitting there waiting, nicely waiting their turn. So, in order to avoid that, I think we should hear from everyone first, and then we'll go in depth because I felt like saying something about Anne's film, but then I felt no, 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 later. Okay, who's next? Shall we go clockwise, anti-clockwise? Joanna, okay.
Since nobody says, I'm Joanna Takminzis. I'm joining you from Athens, Greece. I have a short film, 25-minute film in the festival called Between Life and Death. It's a human story, but with social messages, of course, like I think all of our stories. It's about Kiki Takiri, a woman that was paralyzed for 23 years on a small island in Rhodes with ALS, totally paralyzed. And through her story and how she struggles to bring up her children. She's a mother, and above all, too. And it really highlights the film highlights the two issues that she campaigned for from her paralyzed bed all her life. One was to make sure that there is availability of care and money, which is not in the Greek system, for her to have a dignified life and people like her. And she also believed that the patients like her have the right to a dignified death. And euthanasia is something that is totally not spoken about in Greece and totally forbidden. So it touches those issues through her story. She was a very brave admirable woman
Yeah.
who
We'll
survived
come to
beyond all
that.
expectations.
Let's do the
That's
quick
it. That's
round.
it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, Coralie.
Yes, so I'm Coralie Van Richoten, and I'm the co-director of the movie No Filter Cafe. It's about 5 youngsters with autism who learn how to cook and serve clients in a real restaurant in the heart of Paris. It's a documentary feature.
And we have Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Gross. I'm at the airport. I hope you can hear me okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay. I tried to find a quiet corner. I'm just want to say, first of all, I'm thrilled to be here and thrilled to meet you all. My film, Grains of Sand, follows 2 women friends who are artists as they enter their 9th decade, and I call it a coming of age film for older women.
Yeah, very, very interesting. And last but not least, we have Mariam Torosian with us. And she's going to introduce herself in a second and tell us what she does. But I'm going to put the title of your app right here. I think I hope I spelled it correctly. Is that correct? You're mute. Can you unmute
Oh,
your?
sorry, it's
Yes.
in the chat, yes?
Yes,
Because
in your
see it.
name, next to your name.
Oh, yes, 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 right.
Yes.
Sorry, I had to put that.
Okay.
Uh,
Mariam is not one of our filmmakers, but she's invited to tell us on something very important, and she was going to be present to the closing to present with me a very important award, the Vanya Exerjan Award, which is named after my cousin, and I'm going to come back to that a little later. But unfortunately, she cannot join us in person, so she's here on our Zoom. Yes.
Thank you very much, Nora, for having me, and thank you, everyone. First of all, happy Women's Day, happy International Women's Day. This is a very special day for all of us as we honor, we celebrate, and we commit to continue what other women paved the way for us to be able to do these wonderful things that we're all doing. As Nora already said, I'm not a filmmaker. I'm an impact entrepreneur. I studied my journey as a human rights lawyer, then also studied social anthropology and public health. And as you can see from my background, in the center of everything that I do are humans. Right now, for already past 7 years, I would say, I am doing the work in the women's rights space. I created a technology, so I would say I'm innovation in the industry of innovation and technology on fighting against gender-based violence, violence against women. And our mission is to make sure that every woman and girl in this world has an opportunity to be safe, as we see safety a foundation for sustainable future for all of us. So if we have time right now at this moment, or maybe later, Nora, Jan,
Yeah.
shall I present Save You Now or
Yeah,
later?
let's do it later. So we
Yes.
take now another turn. But before we go any further, I want to tell you something about our film festival. The Socially Relevant Film Festival is already 13 years old, and I sometimes don't believe it myself because, of course, it's not easy with no funding. We are not in a country that subsidizes this type of endeavor. Not only it doesn't subsidize, if it can take your money away, it will. So unfortunately, that's the reality of the situation. And of course, it has been very, very difficult the first few years. But once it was on its feet and people saw what we stood for and what we could do, they started coming towards us. And the reason I founded the Socially Relevant Film Festival is because I was becoming a little too worried and too upset, I should say, about the amount of violence that surrounds us, not only in real life, but on screen. when you look at Hollywood movies, there is so much gratuitous violence in there, so much killing, so much gun violence, so much explosions. And I also call it violent forms of filmmaking, which means very big explosions, very big, loud, special effects, and things that don't make our lives any better. These are There are so many beautiful human interest stories that need to be told, that deserve to be heard from. And there is so much money that is wasted on these mindless, I should say, without mincing my words, and so-called entertainment forms. So this was the main trigger. But also personally, a terrible accident happened, and I had the misfortune of losing my very dear cousin, who was like a sister to me, and her father, my uncle, my father's brother. They were victims of a hate crime. So when I wanted to celebrate their memory, the 10th anniversary of their murder was approaching, I wanted to do something meaningful and create something that commemorates them. And my cousin was an artist, was a actress, producer, filmmaker herself. So I figured, what else than a film festival to commemorate them. At the beginning, I was inclined to films that don't deal with any violence, non-violent films, but then I figured it is a little too narrow, and it needs to have something that is a bit more wide. And because of my sociology background, I figured that, okay, we should include all sorts of social issues. And I believe that the the core reason of violence in the world is the fact that there are social problems. Social problems create violence, and violence in itself creates social problems. So, in a way, the two are interrelated. So, that is how it all started. And when I met Mariam online, in fact, I saw the incredible app that she has come up with, Safe You. And I felt, oh my God, if my cousin had this, she would still be alive probably. Because it is an app that helps women who are in danger to be able to call help for help, and also to use the resources in this app. I'm sure later on, when we go back again in turn and talk about our films, she will elaborate it a little bit more for us. So these were the two reasons. And I created an award in my cousin's name. Besides the best documentary, best narrative, best short documentary, best narrative feature, best script, and so on, we have these jury oriented, jury picked awards. We have an international jury who decides on these. I'm not involved at all. But the one award that I decide and I give out is the Vanya Exerjan Award. And that comes from all the different categories together. It could be a short film one year, it could be a script another year, it could be a feature film. So this year, I have already my mind set on a couple of films. I wish we could honor all the films. And I keep saying that finishing a film and bringing it to a film festival in itself is already being a winner. So I want us to all applaud each other and ourselves for having come to with such wonderful films that we are. The difficulty we are faced with every year is not what we are including, what we are not going to show, and how we are going to draw the line, because they are all beautiful films, all dealing with very important social issues. So let's go and ask you my first question. Now you can go and elaborate a little bit more about your film, each one. Is how did the idea of this film come to you, and why did you think this was an important story that needed to be told? Because if it's not, you're not driven by that passion in this world and under the circumstances, you would have given up a long time ago, I think. So, who wants to be the first to share that with us. Coralie, we haven't heard much from you because we had a chance to talk to Joanna on the other show. It doesn't mean that you can't talk here, you should, but I haven't heard much from Coralie.
Thank you. So yeah, so our movie is about 5 youngsters with autism. And the first time I heard about this project of a restaurant in Paris, an inclusive restaurant in Paris, was with the filmmaker. He has a son with severe autism. He's nonverbal. And he heard about this project at the very, very, very beginning. The restaurant didn't exist yet. And he thought there should be a movie about it. And he didn't want to do it alone. So he talked with me. And the reason why, I mean, you don't just say yeah to every project. So the reason why I personally engaged in this was I was already working sometimes with disabled people. And I really, really liked working with them. I usually made clay motion pictures with them. Yeah, so I already had a little contact with this, and I knew that usually institutions where there are usually a bit closed. I mean, it's rare to be able to go in, and it's more and more in France at least, and that's good. But it's usually a bit secret what's happening in there. So the fact that we were allowed to go there with a camera as a filmmaker, really, I thought, okay, we have to go. We have to go, we have to film, that's good, and we'll see what happens. And what happened was 5 years of filming. It was quite a long process and a lot of progress with these youngsters. And it was really, really, it was a nice story in the end.
Yeah, I'm always really in so much awe and so much inspiration from all these filmmakers who everybody says to me, oh, my film, it took 8 years. My film took 10 years. And I go, oh my God, I would have given up so long ago, so long ago. It's that passion and the belief that your film is important and the story needs to be told that is driving you on. And I really, really applaud you. Who wants to be next to tell us about their film?
So for me, it was going through my own experience as a foster parent, and we were nearing our parental rights hearing. And for me, it was basically processing what has happened, what could happen, and researching other cases and coming across a case in Ohio in 2023 where the ending was not as the foster parents would have wished or expected. Don't want to give any spoilers, I guess. I don't know. But so for me, it was basically working through my own experience, writing the story to get it off my chest, and then actually hiring a screenwriter to properly put it together, into a 16-minute short film.
Yeah, it's very interesting because a lot of times I also notice that many of the films, especially the documentaries that come to us, start from a very personal involvement and very personal point of view. One was an exception. A couple of years ago, we had a comedy, if you can imagine, and it was in the disability section about a paraplegic man who is a stand-up comedian himself, and he wrote the script of this feature film, and it was amazing. It was very funny, but also the story was that this paraplegic man is getting married to a woman who is not a wheelchair bound person, and her parents are completely against the union. And they say, well, are you crazy? You're going to spend the rest of your life taking care of this paraplegic man and so on. But she says, but I love him. We're good together. We love each other. What's it to you? And so on. And she gets into a car accident and becomes wheelchair bound. And now it's the paraplegic who's taking care of her. So, and then to make a comedy out of this was beyond me. And it was like an amazing film and amazingly acted. Both of them got special jury mentions for because they acted their own lives, the wife and the man who wrote the script. So it doesn't always have to be because it's such deep and heavy projects that it's very sad. And of course, we always make sure to find something that is also uplifting in the stories. And Anne's story is very powerful. And I urge everybody to watch each other's films. And also, we have the online platform that kicks in on the 16th. So if you're not going to be in New York, you can access it from a distance. All right, who's next? Joanna or Sarah?
Well, since
Joanna.
nobody is willing to, I'll say, well, mine also started from a personal interest because I knew the woman, the subject of the film, before she was ill, and she was sick for 23 years, and she was a very dynamic campaigner for social issues and environmental issues, and then she got ALS, and very quickly her situation degraded. And also she just as when she started to get to be ill, she had just given birth to a little girl who I was a godmother to, so there was a personal link. But the real reason I had filmed her, the filming is over some years, but I had filmed her because she wanted me to film her for another reason, not to make a documentary like this, but it never worked out in the end. But COVID came, and then well, she passed away. But I decided to make a film after she died with the footage I had plus some other footage because I wanted to be a tribute to her. And I think it links to the subject of today. She was really an amazing woman, a very dynamic, active, and also her great concern was her children, her family. And I chose also to show her through the eyes of one of her daughters. And by the way, her other daughter is painted the poster of the film. The about the relationship with her mother. She was a woman who really is very admirable. Never wanted to be pitied. Wanted to try and act and live like a normal person, even though she was almost 100% paralyzed. In fact, the only thing that wasn't paralyzed was her eyes, and she communicated with her eyes, everything. And so I thought she was. I mean, it was a personal story. She was a friend. I wanted to pay a tribute to her, but also I think she's admirable. And I thought her life would be an inspiration to other people who are in similar circumstances, and also to all of us who do a lot less than she did, being fully able. And I pick up your point about wanting also to try to transmit something positive with the negative. It's a very difficult subject, my film, but also I tried to transmit some of the joy and happiness. You will be surprised to know that in her household, it was never a sad or moody household. It was always very happy and smiling. And she smiles a lot in the film. And it's not because she can't control muscles. She smiles because she's a smiling person. And she was smiling even before she was sick. So through a difficult story, and I wanted to highlight the social messages. I also it was a tribute to her as a very strong woman and a great example, I think, to us all.
Yeah, that's very, very important point that you made about the social message of the story, because we usually get a lot of films that are about one person and how difficult it is and how they suffered and how this and how that. But if that is not linked to a broader social situation, then it becomes just a rant or a eulogy or a I don't know, whatever, something about that person. But in your case, you're making a point about euthanasia and how important that is. We've had films in the past that have dealt with the issue of euthanasia. A number of times we have brought that up. I am not sure what my position would be if I were in a situation like that. I cannot predict, I cannot boast and say, yes, no, whatever, come up with big ideas. But this is a very, very important issue to let people die in dignity. And, sometimes there is no recourse, there is no way back, there is no turning back. So if that's the case, it should be a personal choice, I think. Um, anyway, so it ties in with the social aspect. So therefore, it's very, very powerful. All of these films, like in the autism case, we've had films about autism. We once had a Chinese film about an autistic child, and it was amazing because it wasn't a documentary. It was a narrative feature, and mother and son got Best Actor and Best Actress. They were amazing. The child was a really autistic child, and he performed it. He played his own character in an incredible way. So, who didn't get a chance? Yes, Sarah. Yes.
So I mentioned that my film, I call it a coming of age film. It's when my mom was about to turn 80, I sort of got into a panic and picked up my camera and thought, okay, before everything's over, I better start filming. And ignorantly not really having a sense of what it means to turn 80. And so I accompanied her and her close friend, who's my mother-in-law. It's a very personal film. And they're both artists from the late 70s into their mid 80s. So really year for year, we sort of walk with them as they age and continue to remain engaged in their art and very deeply connected in their friendship. And so it's quite a poetic and personal film about really about friendship and creativity, and about aging. And for me, I think, and for the audiences who've seen it, the response has been very much that there's an inspirational element because they so much enjoy the moment and there's so much working to figure out what it means to age gracefully and to keep both of their feet in life. And so that's what I took away from the film, and that's what I hope the film can offer as well. And as I say, it was a 10-year endeavor.
Yeah. Again, it's like, as they say in French, chapeau, and my hat off to you for your resilience, because it's like these things are not funded properly. They are not, it's passion projects. Nobody cares. You feel like if you don't do it, nobody will. And it's even after it's finished, you're not going to trot your way to the bank to cash millions of dollars and whatever. And yet you all keep going. And that is something that I am so much in awe of. And I really, really salute you, not only as filmmakers, but as women filmmakers, which is already double difficult. And I feel like, oh my goodness, bravo
I
again.
just wanted to add one thing. Thank you for saying that, Nora. And it's true, these long marathon films, you think, oh my God, how am I going to survive this? But we got to a point, it was so beautiful and it was so much fun. And the sort of the trust and the spending time together was so meaningful. I didn't want it to stop. So I got to a point where I wanted the film just to keep going and going. And it was only when I realized that they had come of age and that they had reached their mid 80s and really that life phase was coming to an end and there was something else that was starting. I thought, okay, now we need to bring it to land. And so it was almost against my own, sort of joy or wishes that we did have to stop. But I'm
Yeah.
glad we did. I think that was the right decision.
Yeah, that is really sadly, I lost my mother quite young. She was only 62 when she passed away. 62 today is a new 40, or. And and I regret that I don't even have one little video clip of her. I have photos, of course, and it's all in my mind, but so when she passed away and I still had my father, I felt, oh my God, I have to film him. And I have a bag full of videos, 8 millimeter at the time, that I have filmed him and filmed him and filmed him and had him tell stories and so on. And remember, sometimes it's repetitious, but and my big project is one day to sit down and digitize all that and try to make something out of it. But the film festival takes too much of my time for the moment, for the moment. But I really need to do that before it's too late, because when I'm gone, nobody is going to be around to tell those stories. Mariam, so we want you to tell us a little bit about more in depth of your project, Safe You, and what it does, how the idea came to you, because it's not a film, but it's an app, and it's almost like putting together a documentary film.
Yes, thank you very much. Would you like me also to share a presentation to make it also visual?
Yeah, if you want briefly to show us something, it's fine.
Yeah, or I can actually just tell like this in this format.
Okay.
That will not take too much time. That's fine. So because we also work a lot with like real life stories, human stories that can also, I'm sure, inspire talented filmmakers like you, because all the stories that we deal with women who are experiencing domestic violence, different other types of violence, sexual violence, economic abuse, all these stories, most of them, they remain very silent and untold. And so what we do actually is we created a safety infrastructure. So it's a mobile app that connects women to emergency help, legal, psychological support, and trusted community. But it is also a platform which is designed for governments, for service provider organizations, for law enforcement, to equip them with necessary tools to close the existing gaps, because there are so many gaps when it comes to women's safety, and to also give them enough anonymized and analyzed data so that they can shape preventive policies and effectively not only protect, but also prevent, which is the ultimate goal of our platform, is the prevention. And we believe that through technology, through advanced technologies like data science, artificial intelligence, which should serve humanity and not to be against humanity, there are tremendous opportunities for us to prevent violence before it happens. But for this, of course, it requires a lot of collaboration, partnerships. At the moment, SafeU is available in already, I can say, 8 countries, because we already signed and we're in the process of also implementing it in our 8th country, which is Jordan in Middle East. So essentially, it works in Middle East, Europe, and also in United States in only one state yet. And we started this 5 years ago during COVID. So far, we reached more than 1 million women, directly impacted and protected more than 65,000 women. And we have documented 300 lives saved. And just to tell you one of these stories, as I'm with people who are in storytelling and in filmmaking, one of these stories is about a young mother of a 3-year-old girl. She was constantly, like, her ex-husband would constantly call her and threaten that he's going to kill her, even their child. And this woman, who of course feels the danger and the threats, there she's in fear, she goes to her lawyer. This case happened in Georgia, and the lawyer says, okay, then we have to go to police, because it's really, these threats are real. And then she says, no, I think he's just threatening and nothing will actually happen. How can he kill his own child, or how can he kill? Well, in that case, the lawyer says, okay, just download this app. Make sure that you add me, because within our app, a user can choose up to 3 contacts from their existing contact list, up to 3 contacts from existing nearby domestic violence resource center, like other services that exist that protect women, and they can also activate police buttons. So in total, 7 directions. So the lawyer says, download this app, make sure to add me in your personal contacts, this organization, and also activate police. If he by any chance approaches you, just press on this SOS button and we will all get notified. We'll let each other know and we'll be there to protect you. And ironically, 2 days later, the ex-husband attacks her and her daughter near kindergarten. And as she explained, nobody was there to help as they were alone in the park, and she couldn't make any phone calls. But what she could do was actually to press the Safe Use SOS button before he snatched the phone from her hands. And the police arrived very timely because everyone called each other. So the lawyer, the organization, they said, this is a real case. You have to go, hurry up. We're also going there. And the police came. Luckily, he didn't manage to do much harm to the 3-year-old girl and mother. And they arrested him right in the crime scene, and they didn't understand how they even understood, because our Safe app shares the geolocation with a short message that the user is in danger. And more than that, the app starts to audio record what is happening in the surroundings. And that was actually, for this particular case, it served as a pivotal piece of evidence at court, showing that it was an attempted murder and not anything else, because it was very explicit in his words, his intention, why he was there. So this is one case that illustrates not only the protection, but also the prosecution can itself also be improved. And within our app, and as this woman later in Georgian language wrote on Facebook in an anonymized post, that this app saved my life and life of my daughter. And of course, the attacker, the criminal, went to jail. But this is just one of many different stories from different parts of the world that we have. The app is completely free of charge. It's disability friendly. Many women with speech impairment, visual impairment are also using the app. At the moment, it's available in 15 different languages. And other part, which is very much used by women, is the community space, which is a forum section for topical discussions, which is used mainly for awareness raising, where women engage there.
Maybe you want to put the link in the chat so that people can go and find out more about it.
I can put the link tree where you can also see different publications about us, what we have done, because it also, of course, we won many different awards for the work that we're doing, but our goal is to make it global. And I think for this storytelling and also uniting forces with people like you, I'm sure, and sharing these stories, this impact will help us to scale it further to more places. I'll now share the link.
We have Eleanor, who has just joined us, and we'll give her a chance to tell us a little bit about who she is and what her film is about. And then we can come back and ask you more questions, Mariam. I'm sure we will have time. I hope we will have time. Yes. So, Eleanor, unfortunately, we had already done all the introduction sections. Maybe it's the time difference that...
Yes, my apologies. I got confused with the time difference.
Yes. I figured, because you emailed me saying you're looking forward to it, and then suddenly I'm like, where is she? So tell us a little bit about your name, your film, and why you had the idea to make it.
Hello, I'm called Eleanor Exurgin, and I'm from the UK, and my film is called Imagined Landscapes, and it's my first sight of Armenia as someone with Armenian family who grew up in the UK and always had curiosity and a draw to wanting to go into that landscape. And it's a sort of sight of a landscape you'd always imagined but never seen. So it's based on that sort of nostalgia of a place you'd always heard about, and even that landscape you realize has changed so completely from when my family were there. And yeah, so it's that first it's that first initial sight.
Mm. Yeah, it's very interesting because Eleanor's film is a short film and it's screening as part of the race, religion, and exile section because it's all about identity and how you identify with something, even if you're not necessarily born there or you didn't grow up in it. But of course, the stories that you hear from your family. And it's interesting that we share the same last name, as we were saying. Ekserjan, and my cousin Vanya Ekserjan, after whom, and it's not a very common Armenian name. So we have to trace back and see if we are in several generations back, we were related or not, or probably yes, because it's really such a rare name in Armenian. So yeah, so it's very interesting how we have here adoption and family. That's also screening, JJ is screening in the family and home section. And when we talk about home, when we talk about the belonging and the home, we're also talking about homelessness. In that section, we also have a short film about homelessness and art. And we're talking about age and identification and the grains of sand and friendship and art and how the whole thing makes your life so much richer. We're talking about disability between life and death and euthanasia and its lack and so on. And we're talking about autism and how you can. We also had films in the past, not only about autism, also Down syndrome. And in the case of disabilities, I'm sure it was the same in the case of Joanna. It's like a lot of times the outside, the surrounding imposes certain restrictions on the disabled person based on their perceptions of disability. Whereas the person themselves, all they want is just to live a full, normal life like everyone else, not be put into a category of limitations. Even though in Joanna's heroine of her documentary is somebody who was completely paralyzed and only her eyes are working, I'm sure it was full of life and wanted to live rather than be termed a disabled person and shunned and put aside. So, and then when a time comes, then that living is no longer possible. That's when you have to have the freedom to choose. So it's very interesting collection here we have. And my next question usually is about how did you come to the film festival, but we're just won't talk about that. And I want you all to talk about what about your next project? And the same goes for Mariam because your app is amazing and it's already in 8 countries, but the sky's the limit. There is so much you can do. And I'm sure there are so many countries where it would be even more difficult to, because there is certain illiteracy, there is certain lack of possibilities. Not everyone in many countries has a cell phone, even though now it's pretty common, even, in very, very poor countries that people have at least a cell phone. But still, there must be challenges about all that. So the next 5, 6 minutes or whatever we want to take, I've give you freedom to talk about whatever you want to address, and also feel free to discuss things with each other so that it's not like, okay, you talk now and then you talk now. So let's all be a little bit more informal. So whoever wants to jump in with thoughts and ideas or anything that they want to share.
Well, I've been touring with my film in community screenings and um, doing workshops around the film, and it's just been a really interesting process of engaging with audiences around the States, and it's sort of an ongoing process, and also in Europe. And I'd really be interested, and I don't know if this is the forum, but at least let me introduce the concept, and maybe when we're together, or we can connect and just sort of share experiences for different distribution models. I mean, we all know how difficult it is to tap into more formal distribution models, and since they're kind of somewhat dysfunctional anyway, it's really interesting just to learn. And I'm happy to share also what's been working, and what kind of response, well, the film in particular, but then just more general, this approach has been. So yeah.
Yeah. We are trying to make the festival a platform. Now, some of these films, most of them are already on the online platform. And as of the 16th of March, when we finish the in-person section, they will be available for viewing internationally. And I've been toying with the idea of making it into an available platform throughout the year, so that people can have access to these films. And of course, outside the festival week or weeks afterwards, after the in-person is finished, we need to come up with with a way of sharing revenue with the filmmakers. Because for the festival, yes, it's understandable we're not paying the filmmakers to show the films because it's a film festival. But after that, if there is any kind of monetization, it would be only fair for us to share that with the filmmakers. It's just that I haven't figured out how we can do that, because it's a huge accounting system that one needs, and we are, we are not 100-person staff. The festival, as you know, we are a few people. The team is very, very limited, and a lot of us are not all of us are donating our times. It's volunteer work. We don't get paid. In fact, we pay out of our pockets a lot of times. And I cannot ask anybody in the team to sit down and make the calculations as to how many people watch this film, how much we owe this filmmaker. So, in a way, that idea has remained on the shelf. But it is part of what I want to do, because it's a pity that all these incredible films that deal with such amazing topics, such pressing issues of our times, be limited just for the screening that happens during the festival week. Maybe Mariam can help, because she's the lawyer in the middle of all of us. Or maybe we can come with an app that automatically calculates and makes the payments, or whatever it is supposed to do. Because then it will give even more visibility to the filmmakers, and it will give more visibility to the issues that the films are talking about.
To be honest, after listening to this, immediately to my mind just came an idea of having a platform for socially relevant films, which will be kind of online for what you pay. You have subscription, because that's something that we discuss very often with friends, that we don't find like normal things to watch, because, as you said, either there is violence or the same ideas or the same stories, and we don't care that much about like the quality, but we really want something that will resonate with us, something that comes from the truth that we live, and something that has a hope in it. Which actually, you spend time watching something and then nothing happens. It just leaves you without, and then you regret about your time spent. To be honest, I'm not someone who's watching. And if I watch something, it must be like I do research to understand, okay, this is something that I really want to dedicate my time to and watch this. And I would love to see something like this also in this digital space, where a platform that has these values in it, that it's socially relevant, it's human-centered, it's completely against violence, and it's a space for peace and true stories. So I would say having a platform like that, which is not a difficult thing, but there should be some commitment. And as you said, Nora, you have so many, like so far 400 films screened through your
100.
Yeah, see, so it's a great amount of, for example, you just mentioned about some films that were last year or the previous years, and
Yes.
I immediately wanted to see them, but where I can see it. So imagine your festival also turning into a digital space where someone like me can subscribe and watch these films, and then the filmmakers will also get money. And believe me, there are so many people that would want this.
Yeah, I should really seriously look into that because we have the platform. The SparkFest platform, where the films are available now as of the 16th, also has the capacity of becoming pay-per-view. There are two types of screenings that can happen on the SparkFest platform, which we already have, we already subscribe to. And in the past, it used to be that we had to pay each time we had a festival. Now they made it an annual fee. So once we pay the annual fee, it doesn't matter. We do one festival or five festivals or five screenings or whatever, it's the same price. So they have it's possible to purchase a ticket and watch one film, or purchase a pass and watch any films that you want, unlimited way and many, many times, or do pay per view. You just watch one film. And we can also organize as collective screening. Let's say the films are on the platform, you can watch them anytime you like. But if we announce that on Friday at 7 p.m. we're going to screen such and such, and the filmmaker will be available to do a Q&A, we can do that on the platform. And I'm thinking that it might be a very interesting thing to develop for next year. Hopefully, hopefully,
I think it's a great idea. And I
if I
think
live long enough.
can I just add, relevant also to today's day, it's important for women filmmakers because I think a lot of the issues that we deal with in this festival, that's why I think your festival is so great, the socially relevant issues are very difficult to get shown in other festivals. Because they have other priorities, because they have some of the films may be difficult. I'm not saying other festivals don't show human interest stories or festivals, but they don't focus on it. And in fact, I was thinking to myself that one of the reasons that you have such a high number of women directors in your festival is that many women, more women, let's say, we don't generalize, but more women tend to go for more socially relevant and social issues than for violent or other stories. Therefore, there is a wider base of women going for the themes that you deal with. And we don't have an opportunity to show them, not only don't distribute them, it's very difficult to get them shown in film festivals because maybe the themes are difficult. I've personally found that difficulty too. The themes are difficult, or they know that every year they have different focus, and this year the socially relevant films are not particularly of interest, or it could be AI, or it could be some other issue, so it's important that once we have a platform of let's say a body of films as you are in the festival, I think it would be a great idea if you try to find some way to make them more available. The only thing there is, of course, it depends at which stage of each film's this pathway, let's say, because if it's quite early on, some festivals still, or many festivals still exclude films that are available online. So it has to be a little bit managed which films and when. But after 1 or 2 years go by and you've done whatever you're going to do on the festival round, then I think it would be interesting.
Yeah, I think a good way to start is for me to contact the 800 filmmakers that we have already screened. I mean, the film that I was telling you about, the comedy about the paraplegic guy and he's a stand-up comedian and so on. And that film was a few years ago. So I doubt if film festivals are picking it up anymore, because film festivals have a deadline. I mean, have a sell by date. If in our case as well, it's the same thing. With narrative features, we go back 2 years from the festival. And for documentaries, we go back 3 years. With the COVID situation, we made a little exception and gave an extra year in each case because, people were hampered from finishing their films. And however, already these films that we have screened 3, 4, 5 years ago, they're not going to be picked up by other film festivals because they are considered old films. But the issues they are dealing with are so timely and so important that on a platform like this, it could work. So I am praying to God to give me an extra pair of arms, another head, and 24 more hours in the day so I can do this. Oh my goodness, and become less sleepless. So, yeah, that's my prayer on International Women's Day. So I wish you all a fantastic International Women's Day, and we'll give a last chance to anybody who wants to jump in and say something. It could be anything. It could be hello, mom, or it could be what I had for breakfast, or I'm going shopping after this, or it could be anything. Feel free.
Yes,
This is your
I just
platform.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with you that we didn't want the film to be shown online at your festival, and it's of course because of this reason that we are still trying to have it in many festivals, etc. We're just at the beginning, and but I'm pretty sure the time is very important. Like 2 years after that, it would be a great idea to show it again, and we
Yeah,
really want to reach as much people as possible. But there's a time, difference between showing it on big screen and showing it online.
absolutely.
So that
Absolutely. And some of the
I
films.
encourage you to work on this.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, encouragement is very, very important because it's the energy that we get. The energy that I get from the filmmakers, it makes every year's festival worthwhile. And that's why I keep saying, without good filmmakers, what is a film festival? It's nothing. It's a bazaar, a bazaar of everything. That's why we are very choosy and we editorialize in many, many ways. We like to have a clear editorial line to the festival. A lot of times filmmakers that have very important issues at the core of their film, but unfortunately are not selected, one or two, not everybody, writes back and says, how come my film wasn't selected? It's so socially relevant. And I'm like, nobody's denying that. But if we had unlimited means and 2 month, 3 month long film festivals, I would show everything. But unfortunately, there comes a time when you have to draw the line. Thank you all very much for being here, for celebrating International Women's Day with us, with me, with you all together. And it's all about also creating the bridges, creating the network. That's why at some point in the festival, after we communicated with the filmmakers on BCC, we put it on CC so that everyone on two, so that everyone can communicate with each other. Please feel free to write to each other, to build projects together, and I'll come to Greece, Joanna.
I
I'm
look forward
dreaming
to
of
that. I
the
told you, look me up.
blue
We will.
waters that I can float on and get rid of
Great.
my
Well,
tensions and all
I
that.
wish the festival success. I'm really very sorry that I had planned to come but can't, because also I'm now disabled in a wheelchair temporarily, thankfully, but I can see what it feels like from this point of view now. But anyway, I wish you all the best to all your films and to the festival, and I shall go online and watch what I can.
Let's
And
quickly
hopefully some other
say
time with a future project, I have a chance to visit your festival.
thank you. Let's quickly say who is joining from where. We know Joanna is in Athens, right? And Sarah, where are you right now?
I've just been on tour in Iowa for a week, so I'm in the Des Moines airport
Des
heading
Moines
towards New York.
Airport, yes. And Mariam?
I'm in Armenia.
Yes, and Mariam was supposed to be here, but
Yes.
unfortunately, with everything that's going on. And
It's all good.
Eleanor, where are you right now?
I'm in England.
Okay, cool. And Anne,
And I'm oh sorry, I'm in France.
you're Coralie is in France, and Anne
Very.
is
I'm somewhere on the East Coast. I'm in Virginia.
you're in
Currently in
Virginia,
Virginia, yeah.
and I'm in New York City. But not for very long because after the festival, I go to Armenia to do a play there, and then it's like endless. I think I am my own enemy. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording and